This is a Clash of Clans clone, and while there are many Clash ripoffs out there, what makes this one interesting above the rest is that this is only playable in North Korea. Yeah, you heard that right, the Democratic People's Republic of North Korea, home of dictator Kim Jong-un, a lot of 6 Elixir rockets, and fortress defense. But wait a second, I thought they didn't have internet or smartphones. Who's even playing this out there? Jong-un himself? Well, probably. But so are a lot of North Koreans. For years, they have had special smartphones that only connect to a domestic intranet, and these smartphones can only run certain apps and games approved by the DPRK. Basically, these phones and apps are useless outside of North Korea, so that automatically rules out any possibility of recording some gameplay footage in 4K. But that's not gonna stop it, because we have pictures, videos, and more pictures. Let's take a look at it. So right off the bat, before you open Fortress Defense, which is what it's called, this is the game icon. Yes, it's a Clan Wars badge from Clash Royale, specifically the Bronze League. Why that instead of literally anything else, I'm not really sure. But when you open it up, things get even more odd. This is the loading screen. At first, it looks very Clash of Clans, but almost everything about it is not Clash of Clans. There's not a single troop that belongs there. You can still tell who they are, like this is a barbarian, I think this is supposed to be a king, an archer, a wizard, and a bunch of men with swords. They all look different, I don't know. Right off the rip, this loading screen is a ripoff of an actual one used in late 2015. I also went ahead and translated the North Korean one with AI to better compare it. Ironically, it looks like they created this with AI, so but yeah, overall it looks very interesting. So after the screen, you're met with this. Now in this video, the guy clicks around a bunch of buttons to see what is all about, and it's actually a login screen. Once again, I'm going to bake in some English translations here so we can get a better idea of what's going on. At the top, you can tap to reveal your device's unique ID. In the middle, you can input your details, and at the bottom, you can either register or sign in. And from here, the game won't let you in outside of North Korea. It will either say you aren't connected to the server and that your username and password are incorrect. Obviously, you need North Korean credentials. Now, before we move on from this, I wanted to play a clip of the music that plays in this menu. We don't have any other gameplay with audio like this, so I thought it was very interesting. And then we're in. Now at first glance, nothing looks that odd. It's pretty recognizable, right? But if you look closely, there's quite a bit to unpack here. Firstly, you may notice that buildings look odd. The air sweeper doesn't have any shadows. It's also massive. The scaffolding around buildings looks slightly different, and the air traps are floating. The troops and villagers are different too. Those are not regular villagers and archers. And for some reason, some buildings seem to have a chicken near them, or whatever that animal is, but looks like a chicken. And some other villagers stationed near elixir pumps only. Speaking of, the collection bubbles are different as well. We also see there are several barracks, meaning this clone is likely an old version of Clash, which we do see confirmed later on. But anyway, there are also some extra buttons in the home village. This profile looking icon above the village edit mode, this probably takes you to switch an account. I don't know, they don't have superstar IDs, so maybe they didn't tuck it into the settings. And 3 next to the attack button. One has a builder base attack logo, the other has something to do with attacks, and finally a clan castle. There are some clues that gives us ideas of what these could be, which I'll get into later on. But yeah, this is the home screen of Fortress Defense. Here is what the clan castle opened looks like. We got a random picture of it, and nothing looks that odd here. The description simply reads what it does as usual. It also has that outdated info screen. However, I did find odd that at level 3, this one has 200 more HP than a regular level 3 clan castle. It's a pretty random change. And here is what visiting a player looks like. Pretty similar to normal Clash, except for pink dragons. Honestly, that's the most random thing yet. Like, what was wrong with the normal dragon color? It was just green. This base also has expos, and once again, looks very weird. The shadows under it is hilarious, and the sizing is just way off. I think it's also missing the base. Now, other than buildings looking funny, there's not a whole lot that's different here, but I did notice this button, which is in the place of the return to the village button. Now, I did translate this image too, and apparently it just says return home as well. It just looks very weird. Like, why is there a musketeer on there? It's not even the same game. They probably found a picture of it on Google. The next thing I was curious about was attacks, and man, things get even weirder. So first up, this is the attack screen. We got the OG setup here. No practice matches, no ranked, only multiplayer, and some of the Goblin maps. So it seems like they missed out on all the DLC. Actually, more than that, because even in 2012, Clash had way more stars to collect. Anyway, we already know this is an outdated version of Clash, right? But this screen here gives us some more clues about just how far behind they are. Town Hall 12 being the highest town hall here. This seemed to line up with a Redditor who posted some footage of a university student in North Korea playing some good old Fortress Defense, and he explained in the comments the highest town hall is 12. However, I cannot confirm if this is true or not, so perhaps the town hall 12 here was just a design choice, or maybe it really is the highest town hall. Anyways, once you search for an attack and find a base, attacks are just like any old attack. But here, we get a glimpse of more exclusive changes only in this clone. The most obvious are the troops. The player here seems to be dropping goblins, but they don't look like goblins. Instead, they look like those villagers that were standing near elixir pumps in the home village we looked at earlier. Interesting, right? And we know that these are goblins because they only target resource buildings and they are carrying a bag just like goblins do. On the map, she also has wizards and giants, which look a little weird, but not much. And the balloons. I've never seen that color balloons. This low in levels, it would be red, but here it's navy blue. She also deployed another troop that wasn't seen in the footage, this character with a red stick. My best guess is that that is a wallbreaker, which seems to be unlocked pretty early on in this version, and also in the regular game. We'll get back to this picture. Here is another picture from an attack. This one's a little blurry, but we can see more of the same oddities, including these troops. Yes, that is an archer, but it also looks like a musketeer again. I'm just wondering why they went through all that effort to make a custom archer and musketeer hybrid when they could have just used the regular archer, which looks like an archer. I don't know, maybe it was the pink hair. We also have this troop. I don't know what that is, but my best guess is a healer because it's the only female other than archer that is unlocked this early in the game. But the worst part is what they did to my boy the minion. They removed the horns. Why? It was probably to make it look less like a gargoyle and instead a random flying blue creature. But now that we're looking at troops, we can also see in the profile that they have every troop up until the Yeti and Ice Golem. About 10 spells, siege machines, and heroes. Some things look the same as ours and others totally different, like the heroes. If I keep zooming in, you can literally count the pixels, but you can definitely tell that those are not regular heroes. There are also a lot of minor differences in the attack that are interesting. The elixir being collected is red. Looks like it starts out as purple, but then it gets red. I don't know why. The mortars, their shells are different for their level, and their impact is like this explosion. Looks way cooler than ours, not gonna lie. All of the rubble is different. That is not normal rubble. And finally, the traps. Once they detonate, they seem to stay on the map for the entirety of the attack. Like this giant bomb in the corner just chilling. At first I thought, oh, you could see traps in this version, but no, it's a giant bomb that already went off. Speaking of traps, there is this one odd looking trap that pops up with the rest. This crater looking thing with a dark blue glow. You can also see one of these in the home village shot we looked at earlier, and honestly, I have no idea what this could be. When it activates near the giant in the footage, the giant is already gone, so we don't get to see what it does to any of the troops. It's just sitting there glowing. And here is the results screen. I don't really see anything weird here. And finally, we only have one picture of this, but here we see a Clan Wars attack in progress. Looks like a good old giant and dragon attack, and what looks to be some archers and possibly that healer we saw earlier. It looks like she's healing the group of troops. Maybe, it's hard to tell. Overall, the attacks seem pretty normal with a bunch of visual changes, so basically a reskin. What was not a reskin and totally different was the clan chat. Now, first off, in this footage, we see the player taking a look at her clan. It looks very similar to normal Clash, just a little outdated, of course, and it does look like they have the profile, my clan, clans, and the social tab. Though they are missing the tabs that switch between the home, village, builder base, and clan capital. Anyway, eventually she does open the chat and we get our first glimpse. It's gonna be a blurry mess, so bear with me, but we see that global chat is still there. And at the time of these recordings, global chat 2.0 did not exist. So North Koreans have the OG global. But it's probably more like a regional chat, not global, because they can only communicate with other North Koreans that are in North Korea. Yeah. And then there is the regular chat. Now, at first glance, it looks like members are just having casual conversations and you could join in if you want it. But tapping on this button at the bottom pulls up this menu. It's hard to say what all of this is because trying to translate it was difficult because of its quality, but it looks like predefined text you can input in the chat, like thanks for donating, welcome to the clan, and other things similar to that. Also, when running the chat through translator softwares, it seems that this isn't players chatting, but an automated system of some kind spewing out warnings. It's very possible that their chat is not a free chat. Instead, you can only say what they want you to say. I could be way off. It's hard to be 100% sure, but that's what it looks like what's going on here. The next thing I wanted to look at was the shop. We only have screenshots of this, but we can learn quite a bit from them. So starting off, we have the buildings. There are some interesting UI quirks here, like these red letters, which we do not have. And some of the buildings cost slightly more. But the most interesting part is that the clan castle is here, which is not in the global version. So maybe here you buy the clan castle instead of repairing it. Then we have the Clan War League shop. I'm not sure if they actually have Clan War Leagues or if they earn the medals through other means. But yeah, Clan War League shop. The resources do look rather odd, especially the gold. It's a chest of gold. Not to mention that we can't buy Dark Elixir, but they can. And if you look over to the right, they still have training potions. So they still have to wait for troops to train. In fact, in that footage of a college student playing that we saw earlier, you can see him open the barracks and it's got the OG layout. So they definitely did not get the Clash Anytime update. Next in line is the shield. So they have the OG guard, silver, bronze, and gold. The prices are also much higher here. That guard used to cost 10 gems and the rest were 100, 150, and 250 respectively. One thing I'm confused about is this scarecrow looking statue. It costs 500 or maybe 5,000, who knows, because unfortunately it's cut off, which made translating it very hard. But what is there seemed to be saying something like auto or self something. Then we have some decorations. We got thick snowman, a fire cooking pot looking thing, a scarecrow, which is different than the one we just saw in the shields tab, and this red barrel. I really wish we could scroll over and see what else they got in here. I don't know, like a statue of Kim Jong-un. But yeah, this is all we know that they offer in this version. And finally, the gems tab. The only visual difference I noticed here was this string of text down at the bottom that was essentially referring to some kind of VIP or loyalty tier system. And here, this player has 0 points or levels. I don't really know. What shocked me the most, however, was the gem prices. When taking into account the currency's worth, these gem prices are nearly 6 times more expensive than in the US. And considering that the average North Korean makes about $100 a month, I think it's safe to say that nobody's buying squat. And that explains why there is no gold pass or cosmetics other than decorations. No one will be able to afford it. So how do they get gems? Well, in the profile page at the bottom, we see some quests. It's using the old quest logo from Clash Royale. I thought that was hilarious. And when translated, it says daily quests and that you can earn resources. Unfortunately, all we see is the rewards, some elixir and 3 gems. But I found this very interesting because they went out of the way to code in a quest system, which Clash of Clans does not have, unless they just ripped it off from the clan games. That's definitely possible. Okay, we've looked at all the major stuff, but there were some smaller things here and there that I wanted to rapid fire here. So apparently chats have 2 notification numbers. One's probably for normal chat and the other for the regional chat, or maybe it's for like a donation request or something. There are 2 Town Hall 9s in the battle screen. One just looks different. I'm wondering if maybe one of the town halls looks different in game too. They do seem to have the clan capital and builder base. If you look closely behind these buttons, you can see the boat and the ship. However, it's speculated that these are just visual and they don't actually have those features. And if you remember, in the clan tab, they didn't even have sections for it. Definitely possible. There is a mysterious button when tapping the town hall. Looks like a blue sphere. Lead badges are real numbers instead of Roman numerals, just like the Chinese version of Clash of Clans. And finally, I did notice that above every village, there is a string of text, and when translated, it seems like it's saying the amount of current players online. And throughout all the footage I have, it was bouncing between 20,000 and 40,000. I'm not really sure how accurate that is, but yeah, maybe tens of thousands of players are playing this in North Korea. But yeah, that is everything I was able to gather from scanning through all these pictures and videos that we have. Maybe someday someone will be able to make this version work outside of North Korea, but for now, this is all we got. And man, is it such an odd version of Clash? Definitely let me know your thoughts down below. And hey, before we go, YouTube thinks you'll like this next video, so hey, check it out. As always, hope you guys enjoyed, and peace.